Hi, everyone. Okay, so I think it's the time for our webinar. Yeah, welcome everyone and welcome to the Streamline webinar. And today the topic we are going to talk about is the digital twin-based S&OP, how to level up efficiency of your supply chain. I'm really glad we can introduce this topic to you today because our team has been prepared this topic for more than 1 year. So in that case, we are really confident we can introduce the best content for you today and to solve your pain point. And in the topic, we can see there are two really important concepts. The first one is S&OP and the digital twin. I think for the most of the people here, S&OP is quite familiar concept. We know it's the sales and operations planning, and it's the process to better matching the supply with the demand by having the sales department collaborate with the operators to create a production plan. And for the digital twin, maybe it's a kind of fresh concept now, but we can know it's a trend and it's more about the really advanced technology, such as the AI solution, such as the simulation. So today we combine these two concepts together, so you may know what kind of the benefits we can gain when we combine the digital twin and SOP together, and how to level up the efficiency of your supply chain. So I'm really honored to introduce our speakers to you now. And we have two really experts speakers in this industry. They both have many years of the experience in the supply chain industry. And first of all, may I introduce Tommy Yu. So he's the Chief Supply Chain Consultant and he's the founder as the Supply Chain X. Tommy has more than 24 years of the experience in the supply chain management and operations. In the past years, he has led a number of the digital supply chain transformation projects in the large companies and startups. So Tommy, welcome. Please say hi to our friends here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So it's my pleasure to take this opportunity to communicate with all of you about the digital supply chain. Okay, thank you. It's nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Tommy. We really appreciate it you're with us today. And our second speaker, Stephen Rowley. Steve is the founder of the Select4, and he has more than 30 years in the industry technology, especially in the technological transformation and more in the SAP area. Yeah, so Steve, can you also say hi to us?
Sure, thank you, Lou, and thank you to everyone for joining this session. I hope you find it all very valuable. So we're looking forward to this next hour together. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Wish we can see a lot of the insights from you today. And last, I will introduce myself. My name is Lou, and I'm the Partner Success Manager in Southeast Asia in Streamline. And I studied the supply chain management and the logistics operations before. And I have 5 years in the electronics manufacturing industry and also the supply chain consulting. Comparing with Tommy and Steve, I'm quite green, but I will try my best to share my knowledge and try to support you. Okay, so before our webinar, can we do a small interaction here? So we already have many audiences from all over the world. And can you please write where you are and say hi to us in the chat box? So you can meet each other in the chat box and we can also start to know you. Yeah, really appreciate if you can write something in the chat box. Thank you. Yeah, we already see Kate from UK. Hi, Kate, Oxford. Yeah, thank you. Jerry, hi from China. Gary from India, Tokyo, and Quito, Peru. Thank you so much. We already see a lot of friends from, and also China, Chris. Thank you all. Yeah, so really happy to have you here. We're going to brainstorming and communicate a lot today. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you about the webinar logistics. So during the webinar, you may have a lot of the questions, so please feel free to write down in the chat box. So we will find a suitable time to answer your question. And also we will have 2 pause questions. The questions we will want to know like more about your demand, more about your pain points, so that we can shape our content and offer you a better webinar. And after the emails, for sure, we will offer you the recordings of this webinar and also all of the available materials. Yeah, so you can review it and also share it. Thank you. So in this webinar, overall, we will have 2 things to learn and also communicate. The first of all, we need to clarify what is the digital twin, since it's still a fresh concept for us. And the second one, we will emphasize on how can innovate AI-based technology to make the supply chain and the SOP process more efficient. Yeah, I think you will be very interested on this topic, yeah, relating to your daily work. Okay, so now it's our first part. So you will see the question maybe show up on your screen quickly. What is your greatest supply chain challenge? You know, we're collecting a lot of the information from our companies, and we conclude some of the typical challenges that companies are facing, like in the daily basis. Yeah, so you can select whichever you have it, and then we can know your pain points. So we can, based on your answers, to shape more content. Yeah. And also, if you have more questions that are not listed here, please also feel free to write down in the chat box. Yeah, very thank you if you can write down answers here. Yeah, I think in the supply chain challenge, like more in like inaccurate demand forecasting, like the modeling generation, like the order plans, or even you want to make the more accurate predict the supply chain about the teamwork, capacity planning. This is really the challenge we are facing every day. Okay, so yeah, I think most of people have handing the answers here. Let's step into the final content. So the first question, what is the digital twin? Overall, we can say the digital twin is a complete digital copy of all the assets, processes, operational details that go into a supply chain. Wow, we already get the results. So we can see that the biggest challenge for our audiences is the inaccurate demand forecasting for the existing. And then following up is the data modeling generation and the automated replenishment order plans. Yeah, and also there are nearly 43 people selected responding to supply chain unpredictability. Yeah, thank you so much. So then we know our speakers, Tommy and Steve, they will pay more attention on the supply chain challenges here and offer you the better content. Thank you so much. Okay, so we continue about the digital twin definition. So as we just said, the digital twin is a complete digital copy of all the assets, processes, and operational details that go into the supply chain. And I'm pretty sure our expert speakers, they will have their point of the insight. Yeah, so Steve, can you share please what your mind about the digital twin? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lou. I think it's quite simple, really, when you start to understand the basics of it. I mean, it really is just a digital representation of a product, an object, a system, or a process. And if we think of something that we can all sort of relate to, like a flight simulator. Now, a flight simulator that has a physical user interface for the person who's flying a simulator. Quite often we see it in the films where someone goes into a physical flight simulator and gets thrown around a little bit. But take that aside. The basic concept of a flight simulator is really a digital version of an airplane, so that we can do things in a digital environment that we can't do in a practical environment. So we can teach pilots to fly. So we can use it for training purposes, but also simulation. We can use it to fly a plane from A to B, and you have a schedule that is laid out for you, where you're looking to go on a journey from A to B, and you're expecting to land at a specific point in time. So what happens, for example, if you have unexpected headwind during a journey? How does that impact the airplane? Now, if a pilot doesn't do anything, it's going to slow the plane down. Your schedule is going to be lost. It's also going to impact fuel consumption. So there's many different areas that a variable can impact a flight. And this is exactly what flight simulators do. They look at all different dimensions of what's going on to come up with answers so that the pilot can take remediative action. So he can speed up to make sure he meets his schedule, but he also can keep an eye on the fuel consumption. For example, if he had a tailwind, he may even slow down because he can that way save additional fuel. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. So in essence, that's really what we're looking to do, is to take something, and then obviously in an S&OP environment, we're looking to look at our overall supply chain and say, well, actually, how can we make a digital version of that so that we can go through, crunch some numbers, and we can use it to not necessarily just train, but stress test, and also do what-if scenarios across our supply chain, so we can go in and say, what happens if this situation arises in the future? That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Lou, back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Steve. Steve just give us a really vivid and interesting example. So I think now digital twin is more visual for you. And I think, Tommy, you have 4 things to add, right?
Okay, yes. And for digital twin, actually, this is not a new word. And this is starting from 30 years before, just was in the book of David Gelanta, and his book is Mirror World. It's starting from that. But the concept and the model of digital twin was first properly introduced in 2002, it's 20 years before, and by Michael Jevis. And for this, its first time was mentioned, but it was proposed in digital twin as the concept model underlying the product life cycle management. So this is actually is most in the manufacturing, engineering, the industry. But with more than 20 years development of the technology, but for the day, this digital twin, the content have big is expounding and different. So for the day, so we also see the digital twin was developed not only like just product line management in the engineering, manufacturing. So now it's expanding to many of the area we can see, like the construction and other industry, but also of course in supply chain area we can see this will have big opportunity and develop in the future with especially with technology. So a digital twin is a virtual replica of business operation that allows the company to simulate how the product, the process, or service will perform before it implemented in the real world. So as the supply chain X, okay, we are thinking is a digital supply chain is the digital exploration of the things supply chain, because the supply chain not only the physical, we have many of side, all kinds of different supply chain, and a digital supply chain twin is extend its concept to the entire supply chain, create a virtual representation of the end-to-end process that can be used improve the visibility, agility, and efficiency. So by create the digital supply chain twin, company can gain the comprehensive view of the supply chain operations from raw material sourcing to finished good delivery. This can help them to identify the bottleneck, optimize the inventory levels, improve the demand forecasting, reduce the lead time by simulating different scenarios. Company can also test the impact of the changes before implement them in the real world. That will give much of the convenience and save the cost. I believe in the near future, the digital supply chain twin will be the normal standard for the leaders of the supply chain area. Yeah, this is just my input. Come back to Lu. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. So as Steve and Tommy shared, we know digital twin is such an advanced concept and can help us a lot. So what kind of the core technologies for the digital twin? So we can see here is the AI and also the dynamic simulation. So the AI is used to recognize the customer demand patterns and also increase the forecasting accuracy. This is our biggest challenge that we just posed. And also the core technology here is the dynamic simulation. This modeling is mostly using for identifies the critical issues and help to take the appropriate actions. So let's bring the digital twin back to our daily work. So in our daily work, we may have this kind of concern. How can I better confirm my purchasing plans and control the whole supply chain? So what kind of technology can help me to do it? And how can I use this technology to help us maybe to look backward or look forward or easily and even do the simulation for the future? So Steve, can you please share your insight? How can we do this easily?
Sure, thank you, Lou. I guess the problem has been explained quite well. There's two parts to it. One is the future out there and around the forecasts, and how do we make sure that our forecasts are accurate? So we spent a lot of time in the past looking at forecasts, and forecast accuracy has kind of been in many ways the be all and the end all of what we're trying to do. It's been very hard to do and sort of predict on spreadsheets and sort of very linearly, what things will look like accurately out in the future. But equally difficult is how we react to situations. And we're now in a world which is becoming ever more complex, and our need to adapt to market conditions is just growing all the time. So we have two problems to solve really. One is to maintain and improve forecast accuracy, and the other one is to improve our ability to react to situations as they occur and market dynamics impact us. So they're really the two issues that we're trying to face. And why is it that we've been faced with this? Why is it that we are perhaps a little bit behind technologically, or have been so far, in comparison to other areas? So ERP, for example, has seen leaps and bounds over the last 20 years. Now, the concept of a digital twin and S&OP systems like Streamline have been around for a long time, and Streamline has been around as well. But the power of AI and the affordability of AI has made this very, very here and now, if you like. It's something that is there now, where we can, with a greater deal of accuracy, predict our futures. So using, for example, the time machine, we can jump forward and have a look and see what the state of our business in a period further down the line. But we're also able to do simulation through the digital twin to look and see, well, how do we react to certain scenarios? So if there's, for example, if we find out or suspect there's going to be a supply glitch down the line, how would that impact our business and potentially tens of thousands of SKUs? So all of that can be simulated very easily and very quickly and cost effectively through the implementation of an S&OP solution and the digital twin like we're showcasing here today. I think you're on mute, Lou.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, thank you, Steve. So maybe you can show us directly how the time machine works in the Streamline.
Sure. Let me just try and share my screen quickly here. Okay, so what we're seeing here is we're seeing just a very standard Streamline screen. Just an example here. For those of you that haven't seen Streamline before, I'll just do a quick walkthrough so people can understand the screen. So we've got some various tabs down one side here, and just to the right of this, on this side, we've got our product tree. Now this can be expanded out at different levels, and you can have a number of different product categories, and down from items through to locations and channels. It has two numbers, a green one and a red one, and we'll come back to those in a moment. And you'll see further to the right, we have our planning or demand view. And then underneath that, we have a digital representation. Now, in this digital representation, we've got a gray line here, which shows our actuals up to a point in time. And then we've got the red line, which is our statistical forecast, and green is our inventory levels. So this is across all products because that's what I've highlighted. But if I highlight it at a different level, down to a specific product category, then it would change to that. But let's just stay at all items for now. So this is a very, very basic just overview of this. We have different views that we can take upon this as well, but let's just stay here for now. In addition to this, we do have an inventory panel where we have a lot of detail that goes through the inventory, and we can add and take out different columns, etc. A lot of detail in this system, but it's very easy to go and move around once you get to know it. So it can seem a little bit complex, but it's actually very easy to slice and dice. We have some reporting, or we have some standard reports that you can go through, from historical to projected and to things like such as plan versus actuals. We also have a dashboard where we can go in and we can see some specifics around the business. So we could go through and we can say, well, what is it we want to see? We can take some of these things off, for example, and just keep some basic tiles and say, well, the inventory value, overstock, stock out value, etc. So these numbers actually also reflect, you'll see the inventory value of 109 million, overstock and stock outs actually reflect what I had back here. And these green numbers represent your overstock. So when Streamline looks at your current demand and it looks at your inventory levels, what's needed to fulfill those current demand and what you have addition to that is your overstock. And this is really the capital that you're tying up in unnecessary stock, which you could release and give back to the business. The red number represents your stock outs, which means that there's not enough inventory to supply or the current demand, and you're looking at a potential loss of business here. So these numbers are very important. We want to reduce them both. We want to make sure that our stock levels are as efficient and as low as possible without causing any stock outs. When we go back to the dashboard, now we're talking about the time machine here. So the time machine is not anything strange like in Back to the Future or anything. It's a very straightforward function in Streamline where we can go through and we can add in and we can go in, we can go into Streamline. And we can activate the time machine. When I activate the time machine, I won't save the data. I've got an additional button up here that says travel to. Now, at the moment, because of the data that we've loaded, we're in a position of December 2022. And what Streamline is suggesting is that we go forward until the 1st of January. But we can choose at the time period that we want to go forward to. So in this example, we'll just choose 90 days. And as soon as I press the button, what you'll see is Streamline will start to crunch the numbers and it'll look at all the different dimensions within Streamline. And it will take us forward 3 months or 1 quarter. And we can view our business at that point in time. And you'll see specifically the inventory, overstock and stock out values start to change. So if I press the 90 days, you'll see that the calculations start. And all of a sudden, we are 3 months ahead in time. So although we're physically still at the end of December, Streamline has now taken us forward. We can see that the numbers have changed. Where we were in December, it had that 109 million in inventory value, but that's now changed to 99. So slight decrease in inventory value. Our overstocks against December were 2.6 and are now 2.4. So we haven't greatly reduced that, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But what we have done is managed to actually get rid of all our stock outs. So we're not risking our business any longer. We're not risking losing sales. So it gives us a very nice overview of where we are, our growth of revenue. And we can say, well, that's a lovely overview, but how do we use that to even greater effect? As I mentioned, Streamline uses this across all the dimensions, and this is just a summary dashboard. But if we go back into, for example, the demand view, what we'll see here is that all the numbers have changed. In our demand pane over here, what we'll see is we're now brought forward to a point in time between March and April rather than between December and January. We're also down here in reality, where Streamline is simulating the actual sales gone through, and it's predicting now new demand and new inventory levels. On the left side here on our product tree, what we'll see is that all of the red numbers, so our stock outs have gone away, they've all disappeared. We managed to eliminate those, but we had this problem of overstock. So we've got this 2.4 million where we still have a large overstock, and why is that? And if we start to look and analyze our product tree and our money tree, as we call it, we can see that the vast majority of this lies in the fashion area. And if we drill down further into that, we can start to see where that is. And we can see that a lot of this is around clothing, summer style clothing, and we can see it's in t-shirts. So we can start to think about, well, what does this look like? So if we go forward and look up here in our plan, we can start to see, well, actually, our forecast, statistical forecast, is going up as you'd expect for summer clothes. So if I'm in the summer clothes here, sorry, you'll see the statistical forecast is going up from 89,000 to 106. So it's peaking here in the height of summer, and then it's tailing off again towards winter, as you'd probably expect with a seasonal product. And the same will happen for t-shirts. We say, well, okay, but that's possibly a bit more linear because t-shirts are sold all year round, but maybe we haven't got that quite right. We could go in and make some adjustments. We could say, well, actually, the variance across those periods is so high, we actually want to have a little bit of overstock. And then maybe that's a business decision, and we can put that in as a variant. Or we could look and say, well, actually, let's run some campaigns. We're now in December. We have time to plan ahead for this period where we have an overstock, and we can go in and see, well, maybe run some sales campaigns to reduce those, etc. But it gives you the opportunity to understand your business at a point in time in the future and take remediative action based on where your issues lie. So with regards to overstock and stock outs. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you're all done, I've got this pane a little bit in front of the button, but if I just reduce the screen slightly, when we're finished here, we just go through and close the time machine, and then we're back to where we were before. So we're back to the end of December, towards the beginning of January, and then we're back with the original numbers. So nothing's broken there, but it's a way of going in and simulating. All right, I hope that gave you a bit of an overview. Back to you, Lou.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Thank you for sharing this quite a lovely and kind of romantic function to us. And actually, regarding the time machine, we get the first question from our audience. Kate is asking, is 1 year the furthest out of the time machine runs to?
No, it's not. It can go further out, but we've set this parameter just for this example, and also you don't want to go too far out. It's a question of saying, well, what is right for you now? It depends on your business. Some people will go 6 months, some people will go a year, some will go longer. But it really will depend on your business and what seems right for you. But it's not locked in, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Steve. So about the time machine, as Steve introduced, so we can know the time machine can be used for the stress testing and also the simulating the future. So you may ask why this is important, why the what if scenarios and the stress tests important? Like, is it like to level up the decision making? So Tommy, could you please elaborate on this question and sharing your experience?
Okay, Lou, thank you, sure. So as we know, the supply chain system has evolving a lot during the last 40 years. And the Streamline does a very nice job as a digital twin to do all the number crouching that we needed in supply chain and do the end-to-end supply chain planning. And what we get from Streamline is one scenario with the choice that we have already made from our supply chain planning. Now, supply chain planning had at least 3 elements: sales plan, supply plan, and the inventory plan. So we sometimes have the question about how only it look like if we change the assumption behind the actual reality that we have in the real world. So Streamline is very powerful to perform that if scenario which are very much needed in the sales and operation planning. But you might also be just curious about what happened if some situation changes. And we are going to do with the digital twin is to actually calculate and show immediately what only be changed. If we change the assumptions, so how our sales plan and the sales plan and supply plan and the unit plan can be impacted when we by changing those assumptions behind the plan. So this is the digital will take the Streamline digital twin will take us the benefit and the very good show. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tommy. So also, can you please elaborate?
And also, just another thing, I think when with the digital chain, use it in more and more the supply chain company, and now with the technology combined with the supply chain area, especially AI, so we can see the thing has become a lot of change. So in the past, we are seeing, so most of the time when ERP doing is we just reactive to the impact of what the supply chain has happened, the issue. So what happened and how many, how often and where, right? So what the executive plan and just expedite what action needed, right? Push the supplier, push the customer, push the sales, right? So this is just reactive. So see the thing, when the thing already happened, then take action. But most of the time, the time and the issue is already happened, but the risk impact already done. So how do we avoid to happen? So this is the change as we are seeing in the supply chain digital chain. So we will see why it's happened, what's the reason behind it, and what the change will, if the change of the forecast is down and upside is continuing or not, right? So what will be happen in next, and what the best that can be happened. How to simulate and get the best of the return of the investment. This is to the company, the service. So for now, it's not only the reactive, but most of the time we will care for more about proactive. So and to prevent and add the flexibility of the supply chain. Yeah, I think this is the change for future, from the static to the dynamic of the supply chain. Right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for bringing the dynamic proactive to us. And can you please show us like how to do the what if scenarios in the system, how to do the proactive?
Okay. Hold on, let me show my screen. Okay, here can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, here is the screen we just showing. So as we know, we most of the time and we will suppose we are in the process of sales and operation planning. We will take a scenario to think about how is impact in the demand side and how is impact of the supply side when we have a assumption for the things of the change. Okay, so for now, I just take an example for the consumer goods. This is category. Okay, so when we have the commercial manager, he want to make a promotion. For example, he want to promotion to 350, right? And because we now we have omnichannel, have many of the promotion, right? So we just want to promotion to 350,000. So what is the right time, right period we make the promotion, and to make sure we will have overselling to the customer, right? When and make sure the supply chain is enough to and available to support cover that. So we just take as assumption and the mock-up simulation. All right. So we just take 300,000 and 350,000. Okay. Okay. We take a look. So I repeat. So from here, you just take a look at the pink of the color is the stock out is 96,000, right? Is the number. So if we put, probably we test that in February. So we put a 350,000 and see what happened. Oh, okay, we can see it's a lot. So it means it's impossible. The supply chain country can support this kind of plan of the promotion, right? So let's take a test in March. Okay, still cannot, right? So I probably we can using in the, okay, probably, okay, fine. We can using at April, right? Using April, so in April, we can using this promotion plan in advance. So all the supply chain resource can plan in advance. No rush, no specially expedite fee and so on. Okay, so this will save a lot of resource for the supply chain and also can give the time for the marketing to develop the promotion. All right, and I think another very beautiful function for Streamline is not only for this quantity, and the system will break down to, so how many to plan for each of the item, right? So we can see if we expanding, so we can see for each of the item we already break down to each of the SKU and each channel or location level. So exactly to plan for exact quantity. So this will be very much helpful for a production line, for all the operation execution for the in the manufacturing, in the supply chain panel and so on. Okay, so this is very beautiful. Of course, this will be this can be our right. So as we just see the series, and the feedback is the unpractical about the uncertain from the demand side and supply side, right? It's total. So this is just the mock-up, but we can take the decision in advance and to avoid any risk in the future, right? This is to take a look in demand side. And of course, we also can look at in the supplier side. So we just take a look at, on the supply side. Suppose we have something changed, the lead time and the delivery delay from the supplier, and what is the impact to our supply chain? For Streamline, we will have very quickly and just a few minutes to see what exact impact. Okay, let's take this the supplier as a example. Okay, so we just take this customer as an example. Okay, we can see currently what is the stock out. So I just saw out. Okay, this is the stock out. We from January, February, and probably we have some in April, right? And also for the last, it looks fine, but just a few of the old stock. Okay, so if we receive the information notice from the supplier, so now we have some issue, the factory and the labor or any else issue, right? So we will have the issue on the lead time. So we just added the lead time. Okay, now just change increase to 120 days, right? So we will see, okay, we will see the impact of stock out was delayed 1 month, and exactly was the impact of the quality. And this will be for us to make the good assumption scenario of the evaluate the impact and see how it is instead of the actual thing happened. But of course, we just this simulation we also just very easily, and we can just create override. Okay, so we can back. All right, so this is just come back to the scenes. So from the demand side and supply side, we have many of the tool and the way to create this kind of thing. Also, I will take a very quick and another way, because we know the COVID-19 impact and many of the factory of breakdown and impact. So how can we build a very quick decision and build enough buffer? For example, if we receive the notice that the April will will be lockdown of the factory, and how shall we build ahead and build the buffer? For us, it's just very simple. We just quick, okay? We just click order availability. Okay, we just look again. So we can see the order plan in these 2 months is 236 and 239. So when click, it means all the demand and the order plan was move ahead to this month. So it will be safe and the helpful. It's very quick and simulated for decision making. All right, so this is just the demo show for this section. Just get back to Lu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. Yeah, so as Tommy just shared with us, we can see it's quite easily to do the decision making in our system. But we want to ask, is it possible to like take one more step to a higher level of the management so that we can create the business plan and the various projections to do the risk management to avoid the risk? Tommy, can you please share with us?
Okay, sure. So I think there are two topics in the company are talking about all the time. One is where are we standing at this point of the time with the actual demand we have, and what we have the projection with the supply we at this point of time and already scheduled. So those go out from the sales and operation process we are running if we already have the S&OP process. But anyway, I mean, it's at the top management level of view. So they always want to know how well we are standing today, and how does that compare to their budget, and we have already committed to the shareholders of the company. So because the top management want to do is fulfill the commitment that is done with the budget that we already create in the year before the actual year, right? So before the calendar year, and so. We also can, for Streamline, we also can create this scenario to compare how is our current projection versus the budget that we already commit to the shareholders. And then after that, we all have to do is just to create the action to close the gap that will come as the commercial actions to increase the demand, or just if needed, or just increase the supply capacity or internal the manufacturing capacity. So this is the way. The first thing is we can look at the gap between the projection and see then what the action we can do, right? This is normally, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. So we have already taken 40 minutes, and we really appreciate there are still a lot of people with us, but we will try our best to speed up a little bit and still convert as much as information we can. So Tommy, can you please roughly show it? How can we do the risk management in our system? Thank you.
Okay. Let me show. Okay, so, okay, can you see my screen? All right, so I still will take the same project to show how the simulation scenario is. So firstly, as we know is for the sales plan for the budget plan. So normally, so if the company have the budget plan already come to the sales unit, so this will be the simplest and easy way for us to just to comparing what the budget and the projections gap. So as the first, I will take an example to see is to see how it is to do the projection. Okay, so first we will create we call it budget. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Wait. Okay, so and if we already have, suppose we already have the sales unit as the budget. This is just one way. So for example, for here, I still take the consumer good as the example. So if we have 250,000, okay, this is the budget. We just based on the sales unit. So we apply to the profit value. Okay, this is all the current the budget for this category. Okay, so we just pay attention and take a look to go to the KPIs and take what is take a look is consumer goods. Consumer goods, we look at what is the current of the sales annual sales revenue is for next year. Okay, the next year's sales revenue is 722,000, right? So this is kind of projection based on the current situation. So once we apply the budget to actually what we need is try to pull sale below. Okay, so now is we will see. Now we will see that the revenue is 810. So it means we have 90,000 million. 90 million, okay, is the budget we need to, the gap we need to fulfill. And also come back, we will see what exactly and for each the consumer for the category and on each of the SKU, what exactly the gap we need to fulfill and to close, right? This is the way we have, okay? So this is the simplest way. And another thing, most of the time, the company just have dollar number is just from the financial, and we can only using the financial number to do it. So it is we also have another way to it's easier to simulate, to do the simulate and take a look. Okay, let's take another example. Okay, just remove it.
Yeah, Tommy, sorry to interrupt, but we have a really detailed question from our audience, Kate. So he's asking, can you take just a version of the statistical forecast and move that into an archived version to refer to it as the budget?
Okay, of course. So it depends. So and the last I will show you how it is. Actually, this question is a good question because the static forecast, when we have this one, we also can refer it and apply to the budget, of course. Okay, I will show another way is, for example, for this way, we have the budget number is 60 million, right? I just take 60. Okay. If we just know the dollar is for 60 million, and then what the exact number, what the sales unit, what we need to sell in the market for each of the item, for the category, all the thing, right? So for this thing is very simple and easier. So for this case, we already get the budget from the financial. Okay, this is with the dollar. So we just need to, it's very simple. We will just input projection revenue. Okay, we just input. Okay, you can see we already input the change for the number. Just click because here we have the file, right? We already input. And then we can see, right? Okay, you can see all this is the the forecast, right? So we can using this is the forecast number, okay, this is, and then we can see what is the gap between the. Also, another way we can see the gap between the static forecast and the current situation and the final forecast. At last, I will just have very quick to show is because just the audience, the attendants asking one question: can we using the forecast? Okay, we can see here is the final forecast, right? This is just we override. So we need to see, okay, this is the budget, but this budget is before we override, right? So we just need to want to using that as a budget and make sure in the future we will also use this here. So it's very simple. We just export. Okay, we just export the data and then come back. We just go to the, it's not final, we go to the budget, right? And then we go import the data we just using. All right, so you can see now is we can using this as a budget. Of course, we also can using the static forecast and the import to override as a budget. This just answer your question. All right, so from here we in the next round, normally when the system was running, this overrides except for the first maybe 2 or 3 months we fixed, and for future all the number will be refreshed and updated. But for the budget, we still keep it here, right? So in the next round of the period, and then all the S&OP, the members will take a look at sales, demand manager, and all the people will take a look and see what it happened, right? I think it is really useful, right? Yeah. And in the report of the forecast accuracy. Okay. Yep. So I'll come back to you, Lucy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tommy.
Okay.
Okay, so I think Tommy really explained about the business plan and the projections really clearly, and I hope he also answered your questions, Kate. So we're talking about the team cooperation because we know in the SOP we involve the sales and operations to the daily production. So there are a lot of it's the cross-department cooperation. And as we know, the digital twin is the copy of the whole process. So Steve, can you please let us know, is it possible to also copy the roles and the responsibilities so we can simulate the team cooperation?
Yes. Thank you, Lou. I think it's very important that we address this question because the whole point of S&OP is that we can get all parts of the business working together across a single source of truth. So Streamline has the ability to interface ERP systems predefined or multiple. So we can pull the accurate data from your business into a single system where people can operate on that in a nice environment and have a single source of truth. Just to showcase a little bit of how that's done very quickly, just so that you can see that, what I'll do is I'll just share my screen again, and you'll see now that we have this button down here on the left-hand side called Users. If we go in and choose that one, we have Users, Roles, and Catalog Access. Very simply, you have obviously the ability to create different users. We have one here called Salesman, and I've attributed him the role of Sales Team 1 and a catalog name of Sales 1. If we go into the roles and we see the Sales Team 1 and go in and edit that, what we'll see here is the ability of this role, which could be added to a number of different users, of course, is what he can do within Streamline more from a functional perspective. So can he see the demand tab, for example, or edit it? So he's got an edit or view ability. The inventory tab. Now there are some other tabs here we haven't shown today, but obviously we can work with multi-echelon, distribution centers, intersite, etc. There's a reports tab and others, but we can set up the ability of the role to have access to certain functionality. What Streamline then does, it looks at catalog access. And if we choose the catalog access and then choose the one that we've attributed to this person, you'll start to see the items. So we can see the whole item catalogs down here, item and product tree, and we can drill down and say, what should this person have access to? So for example, in this example, it has view access across all the consumer goods. For fashion, the person has write access, read only on summer clothes and write access on the clothing winter style and the t-shirts, has view access across food and beverages, but no access to the pharmacies. So you can go in and you can slice and dice the data that's in the system. So by overlaying this catalog access of the data that people have access with on top of the roles, which is a functional access, you get that overlay where you can grant access to people at will across the relevant information that they need to get hold of and view. And that way you can create a collaborative environment for your various teams. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so now let's go back to the digital twin again. And here is a small tip about the workflow of the digital twin. So you can see on the screen, there are several steps we can do it when we set in the digital twin, including sensing, viewing, analyzing, simulating, decision-making, and acting. So maybe you will think digital twin setting or implementation is quite complex and long-lasting. So Tommy, can you please tell us how actually the implementation of the digital twin solution look like?
Okay, sure. So actually, for us, we know in the current years, we are always hearing about the digital transformation, digital supply chain, and this kind of things, because all this thing is based on top of the current. In the last 40 years, ERP is this kind of the system, right? So this will take lots of like department and issue and money and time to resource and to take a long time of the project to implement the like digital supply chain, because the basic is total logic is different, totally different. But for Streamline, so we are actually is based on all the data is not just like a solo. Actually, the data we are using is in a data source. We will use just using a API connection and make sure all the data connected to the Streamline AI powerful the platform. So with the AI, the models, we will based on the exactly different product, different the sales channel, different customer. We'll plan different kind of the modeling and the trend, right? The generate the forecasting, and based on the forecasting, viewing and analysis, and this also will save lots of the time, because the system already and generate and automatically generate the system and save lots of the time. No need to just the analysis of the select of the data and save of time for the paperwork, right? We just make the decision and analysis and simulate, and then for the decision making, and for of course for the action and the execution. In the past, we can see the demand planning and pushing and place the order. All this kind of thing, of course, it still exists. As just Steve mentioned, all this action actually can relate it and the link to the role and the responsibility and even the process. But we just focus on the company is just what is the service level of the customer's certification and the cost, the revenue, and the return of the investment. Because we just focus from the result oriented to the drive the supply chain. So we also have very good the dashboard and the report. So this is it just looks is very simple, and the structure architecture, right? So it's not so complex. Just is very easy for us. I think it's a good platform for Streamline. Did a nice job. Okay, get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tommy. So Steve, do you have anything you want to add here?
Not really. I think Tommy said it all very quickly. It's a 3 to 6 week in implementation time. It's not a great big cumbersome project. It's done very quickly, very efficiently, and quite affordably. So it's not as complex as it necessarily looks here. Thanks, Lou.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Tommy. So now let's go to our second poll question. What is the priority level for adopting an innovative AI-based supply chain solutions for your company? So I think for all of audiences, you also have this question will show up on your screen. So you can select the option you want to know. Yeah, so for us, you can consider about what is the priority for you. Like if you are still struggling with the ERP system or something else, maybe it's the moderate priority for you, or you already have collecting the enough data, so you start to want to create the value based on your data. So it means the top priority for you. So you can plan to improve it in the next 3 months. So depends on your plan and depends on what you know about the digital twin and how big the value is seen from the digital twin based S&OP. So please select the priority level for adopting the AI-based supply chain solutions for your company. Yeah, thank you so much to answer this question. And we will come back soon. So let me tell you about the next steps. It's kind of homework for you. So please try to understand where the gap is in the supply chain in your company. Yeah, based on what we're sharing today, what our experts are sharing their experience today. And then you may define the goals for you, like quantitative or the qualitative goals. And after that, we will really glad to tell you, we will offer a unique chance for you to have a free consultation chance with our expert, with Tommy or with Steve. So you two can brainstorming together, you can communicating and to find the really best solution to solve your pain points, to achieve your personal goals. So in our chat box, there is a calendar will be sent in the chat box. So please feel free to book the meeting with me and I will help you to connect with Tommy and Steve or even other partners because GMDH is a quite international company and we have hundreds of the partners all over the world. Yeah, so please see the chat box and feel free to book the meeting with me in 1 week. Yeah, so the unique chance to have the free consultation. And after this meeting, for sure, you will also get the free ebook, so you can download and read it and sharing with other people. It's about the future-proof your supply chain with digital twins. So the content we're sharing today will also be included there. And also, you can refer to our website. There are so many valuable case studies there. So for example, like here, how digital twins can help supply chain survive disruption. And we have like 5 ways AI can benefit demand and forecasting and inventory planning. So please feel free to go there and read it through. Okay, so now is the Q&A session. We just so Kate also have another question. We don't have time to answer it before, so maybe now we can do it. So Kate is asking, do you have behind the scenes the supplier capacity available? Or does it just tell you how much you need to pre-order basically, but not specifically linked to what is available? Yes, so Tommy or Steve, can you answer this question?
Sure. I guess from my perspective, if you're looking to see how we can get the supply capacity in there, we could load that in. If you have access to supply capacity, then we could put that in as a separate product, and then you can draw on that as a demand. So that is possible to do, but you'd have to set that up. But yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just have some input regarding the sense of the supply capacity available. Okay, for this case, actually, we know just mentioned the ERP is a data source to connect Streamline, right? So if you have already in this ERP is capacity available setting constraint, that's okay. If no, then also in Streamline we also have the max of the constraint can be setting, right? So this will be monitor the supplier capacity. All right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. So Kate, hope they answer your question clearly. Or if you have more details, want to communicate with our experts, so please feel free to book the meeting with me, and you will have the chance to brainstorming together. Yes, and let's see if we have more questions. Yeah.
Okay, I see another question is just to show you how much need to pre-order basically, but not specially linked to what is available. Okay, so actually for Streamline, we have a very cool, the function is for their smart safety store. Okay, this is automatically to link to each of the product. And because this is based on the history, based on the forecast, based on the lead time, based on the customer certification. So all these elements was in considering, we will build a right of the order of the requirement. And also on the other hand, we have different stage, like a min-max stage of replenished order. And also we have the period of the safety stock, especially like the e-commercials, most of the time they need the period of the placed order. And so for the order modeling and the forecasting is also another will be helpful for pre-orders. So it's and we also have a certain model is called pre-order. So it's very wonderful and many of the selection and the flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tommy, for the valuable sharing input. Okay, seems we don't have further questions here, but yeah, everyone, if you have any further question, we still have the chance to communicate later after the webinar. You will have the meeting together. Yes. Okay, so let's move forward. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Steve, for sharing here. And yeah, let's talk soon. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you,
Steve.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.